Um, Thank you to Lizra for inviting me. Lizra, the short story here, guys, is that 2 years ago, Lizra and I had this conversation about this conference, and she asked me to speak, and I said no. And the no was because I was practically just all over the place physically. And I said, boy, Lizra, I'm not too sure where I'll be, to be honest, and I don't want to commit to you and not be able to help. I was at Fort Young with a friend who I'm helping with a project just before Christmas, and I met Lizard, and we shared coffee, and he said, "Hey, Kareem, are you going to be here?" And I said, well, Lizard, look what. I don't have a plan to be here for this week, but you know what? I'm going to come back for this week specifically to help you. So we are here because I did not want to tell Lizra no on the second time. I think it's a great thing that Lizra is doing. And Lizra and I have worked across the development space for a while. We have shared podiums before across the Caribbean. And I have worked with, or together with the organizations that Lizra have worked with over the last 10 years in our careers. And so we know each other well enough, and we know each other in terms of the background in the work that we have done. So I'm very pleased that Lizra is continuing in this project, as I call it. And great faces in the room. I think I know a lot of people here, definitely, and I'm looking forward to meeting a lot more persons during the breaks. I don't have a presentation because that's not my vibe, to be very honest. I don't think this type of event and being invited to offer the keynote address would have required a presentation with boring slides. All right, so I could have done two things: put pictures up and then you get confused there, or I have a whole bunch of words and then you lose focus on what I'm saying, right? So I felt it was best to have a conversation. When I looked at the theme with regards to, the future of, I guess, career professionals, just looking at the vision for 2026 and beyond, I wanted to focus on two things. Two things that are dear to my heart, to be honest. One, relationships, professional relationships, and bridging the gap between individuals who share different careers within our beautiful island and, of course, outside. And then two, how do we nurture persons to become more confident in what they do? Because I think a lot of times when I go across Dominica specifically, and I'll tell you why I say this, a lot of the issues are not to do with persons are not brilliant. And we don't have persons who are very good experts in their field. I think a lot of times that people just don't know how to navigate the room. All right, and definitely not, it will not be a speed networking event when you meet persons, because I always say spend time to learn about the people that you meet in your lives. And I felt if I were to focus on these 2 points, I think it could set the agenda for what the rest of the speakers would communicate with you, and also something to take away as you move through the day and when you leave here today. So it's not a heavy conversation. It's really just something that I'd like to share. And it's not a testimonial. It's really about what I think we can all do to be better at our careers. And I think that's why you're here, right? You're not here because you want to take your Sunday to spend at Intercontinental. I'm sure all of us would prefer to be at the bar. My friend Shagan and I will share a drink after, so I'm sure that's where we prefer to be. But we are here because we felt there's an opportunity, right? Early Sunday morning, let's talk about engagements. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, sorry, I started my career. And I'd come back from school, decided not to stay in the US, because for those of you who have studied in the US, you have the opportunity to spend at least 1 year. It's called OPT, optical practicum training. So the Americans at the time, not now, definitely not, at the time, they gave you an opportunity to spend 1 year to extend your student visa for 1 year to spend within the United States. Are we offline? Sorry. But you're hearing me, right? Okay. No, the mic is off. Testing. Testing. Okay, my voice is loud enough. Let's try this. Okay, let's just continue. So yeah, they gave you 1 year to figure out yourself in your lives, and if you wanted to have a career in the a career in the United States or across the globe, you had the opportunity to spend 1 year. I decided not to spend the 1 year. I felt, let me go back to the region, figure out things. So I came back, started my career. Started my career in St. Lucia, to be very honest. Spent 3 years there. And then perused the Caribbean through Cable and Wireless Digital, for those of you who know me, and some other things. The point is, a lot of times okay, so I'm going to stop. Back on. Oh. Hello? Okay, back online, guys. So, sorry. So I was saying that we started the career, jumped into several roles, and not doing what society said, which is stick in a role, work for 20 years, and then retire, right? So I've always not liked sticking to what we consider to be our culture. I think a lot of times you do a culture loosely, not necessarily to embrace newness or help people along the way, but I think a lot of times, again, within this space in which we have grown up, we use the culture to hold back, all right? Because, well, we shouldn't do it because I don't think it is the best thing. Why? Oh, culture. Like, what does that mean? And then you have the society norms because people see you doing things or people see other people doing things. They think it is the best thing. And then you feel a sense of, boy, I wonder if I'm really in the right space because I'm the only one doing it. And I'll tell you something, guys, it's okay to be the only one doing something, all right? It's okay. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to take away from this conversation. And that kind of feeds into boosting confidence, because if you're walking alone, you look around, there's no one around you, and you're really asking yourselves, boy, why did I take this chance? And you're asking yourself those questions because you're investing and you're failing. And again, I'm using that word purposefully here. The idea of failing in our dear country is because you have taken an opportunity or taken a risk, and it was not what you expected, for example, in the first 5 months, first 6 months, first 1 year, first 5 years. And I think instead of people encouraging and saying, boy, I'm happy you actually made that investment. I'm actually happy that you jumped into this industry. I'm actually happy that you're offering this services product. They're quick to say, well, why the hell did you leave your job and decide to go invest in this? So we have a culture of negation, right? Where you are really just being beaten up constantly. And I go back to the point that I made earlier that it's not that we don't have brilliant minds. It's not that we don't have expertise. I just think people have given up on themselves and don't feel empowered to praise them and say, hey, I can answer the question as well, right? I'm not an expert on everything at all. In fact, the best work I've done is collaboration with people. And I've worked in some exciting organizations, the OECS, I led the business policy division there, and worked with a myriad of persons across CARICOM. And that's how I met Alicia. Alicia ran our head of communications at OECS. We spent 3 years together. And again, just brilliant minds across the space. And if you do not and you're unable to meet new people, I think that's where I'll use the word failure, because you have actually failed yourself in learning new things. No one is born to know everything, and that's why we go into various disciplines, right? Someone could be a sports enthusiast, someone could be a musician, someone could be a poet, someone could be an accountant, an economist, a scientist, a doctor, etc. The reality is the fact that we all have a different love and a different aspiration and a different feel on what we think we want to do in our lives, that makes us special. So when we did the speed networking and the speed connecting, I think what they wanted to do was to kind of find out, well, did you find anything interesting about the person that you just spoke to? At least one thing in 5 seconds. And if you leave a conversation and there's nothing, well, perhaps that relationship and an engagement is not for you, right? Because you're trying to battle, boy, what did I learn? And if you cannot come up with that one point, then it's a waste of your time. So I think with engagement, it's very important to spend time nurturing engagements and meaningful engagements. Now, it doesn't have to be about the business conversation every day. It could just be an engagement for social awareness, right? It could just be an engagement to learn about something that you do not know about, and you feel that one person is better at it. So if we're very good at building relationships, or we're very good at kind of engaging with people, it becomes easier to grow networks. And I think the word networking also is sometimes daunting for persons who don't have confidence to walk into a room and be a social bug, right? I'm a social bug. I walk into the room, say good morning, hello, what's going on, what's your name, what do you do? But not everybody has it, and that's okay. And some persons can learn how to do this, and learn how to do it and not be awkward, right? Because people give the word networking an unnecessary value that makes people uncomfortable. Networking is supposed to be very comfortable. Being kind should not be difficult. And in networking, it's being kind. You're asking, how are you doing? You say good morning, you greet the person. You ask his or her name, and you ask, what do you do? I think that is just the best way to peruse the room, right? Now, if somebody's giving you the kind of vibe that, well, I kind of just want to drink my coffee, it's also okay. That's okay, because at some point during the meeting and some point during the conference, you're going to get an opportunity to talk to that person again, and then they will open up. Not everyone is bubbly in the morning. Yeah? Or lunch or afternoon tea, whatever it is. So, in building engagements, this is one of the main factors that could bridge gaps for you. As I said, you're here because you feel you're going to get something out of this. Yeah? And if you're building career and you're building business and you're trying to navigate, and based on the general theme of this conference, which is kind of, can we connect and see if there's anything else in the African space that we could take from or go to, we need to be able to, one, understand our African brothers' culture. Yeah? And to understand the culture means you have to have a conversation with someone. Not imposing, but a conversation that makes everyone comfortable. Yes? And in building the conversation, you need to understand the profile of the individual. And what does kindness look like? What does respect look like? Right? In Dominica, it's easy for us to just meet somebody, hey, what's going on, etc. Perhaps in Africa, you need to be a little bit more formal. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Africa. But definitely you need to find out. And that is why I started with the conversation around engagements and relationships, because you need to build that. People who do well, a lot of times, yes, they may have financial backing, great, but they do well a lot of times because of the relationship. And sometimes the persons who do better are not just the financial backing, it's because they met the right person at the right time and they had the right conversations. It has happened a lot of times. So you're trying to get this great job and you said, okay, I need to study for this interview. Okay, cool. And I'm trying to find out everything about the company so that I can actually have a cheat sheet because I want to be perfect in the interview. Perfection interviews are about conversations. Not necessarily do you know what the profit was for last year for the company. Who cares? But what they want to do is, what are you bringing into their space? Right? So interviews have changed. I've sat on a myriad of interview panels over the last 5 years. For me, it's just a matter of understanding, can that person get into the culture? Can they share what I consider vibes around the space in the organization? And what type of value do you bring? So I want to know about your soft skills. What do you do? What do you like doing? What do you do on an off day? What does good look like? And if you tell me good looks like a perfect marketing plan or a perfect strategy, then you're talking bullshit. Good is really about making the error, owning up to the error, and then fixing it with your team. That's what good looks like. Because it is not the culture of being scared to fail. That is what is killing us, right? That's scary individuals. You're scared to fail. Oh my God, you lost the money. Okay, let's move on because it's gone. Those accountants in the room, sunk cost, right? Finance, it's gone. Unable to be recovered. The 30,000 that you spent, it's gone. The concept of spilled milk? Move on. And don't feel demotivated because you lost 30,000. Let's assume that the project was a huge one, I get it. Think about how quickly can I scale or how quickly can I mitigate that challenge and start over again. Business wasn't meant to be easy, right? And building your career is definitely not easy. I guess I can say I've had great relationships with my leads. I call them leads. I hate the word bosses, to be honest. But I had great relationships, and sometimes bad ones. And the bad ones are not that you hate the person; it's just you're disagreeing in the boardroom, on some concept. I remember, and I'm still on the engagement piece. I remember when I was at Cable and Wireless, and I moved from Dominica. I worked out of Miami for about 2.5 years. And I was head of the strategy and commercial. So basically, it was about pricing and marketing. How do you align our marketing plans and then the pricing? So I was responsible for pricing for the Eastern Caribbean. And there were some CEOs in the region who, at the time, did not agree with some of the aggressive pricing that we wanted to. We wanted to, at the time, I was with Cable and Wireless, and then I wanted to beat Digicel, right? So we're obviously in a war. And it was a bitter conversation in the room, bitter conversation, right? Because CEOs want, remember, at the end of the week, or at the end of the year, sorry, you want to get a big bonus. And if you do not hit target, you don't get bonus, motivation, right? But then if you don't have the right price, people don't buy. So they don't have the revenue. So the question is, what are you really fighting for? So the conversations in the room were very bitter, like very bitter. But at the end of the night, we grabbed the scotch because it is really just about trying to figure out what is the best decision every day. And there were persons that were culturally different. There were persons from Spanish-speaking markets, different culture. There were persons from the larger Caribbean markets, different culture. And there are persons from our small island neighbors, different culture. First of all, I was the youngest in the room, so obviously, why is this young boy here trying to talk down at us, right? Not talking down, just saying, hey guys, I don't think that's the right decision that we need to make. Let's figure it out somewhere else. And that brings confidence. You need to walk in, you need to be able to be beaten down and boost your confidence. Don't start to think about, boy, if I walk into the room, I don't think I'll be liked. Then you walk into the corner, you stay in the corner, and you never say anything to anybody because you're scared of somebody might think of you if you speak, you make an error, you use a wrong verb, and you feel, oh my God, did I just make a mistake? Guys, you're going to learn over time that being comfortable is the best thing you can do for yourself. Yeah, being comfortable. And comfort breeds confidence. So once you're in a comfort zone, you become comfortable, like much more comfortable, and then the confidence starts to impact you. So if you're going to build, kind of bridging the gap now, if you're going to build a vision, if you're going to think about what I'm going to do for the next 3 years, so you're building a kind of a 3-year plan, or 2 years, 3, 5, I think development of self must be first. It cannot be, let's go to Africa. Definitely not. It has to be about, am I the best version of myself today? And then if I'm the best version of myself today, then we can then start to talk about how do we start to build partnerships across the Caribbean space, our small island states first. And I always say, I think, yes, great opportunities across the globe. But if you can't play ball in your backyard, why are you trying to play ball outside of that space, right? So understand your OECS space, understand your CARICOM space, and then we can jump over from a global landscape, right? Most recently, I did some work with an organization called the World University of Canada. I did some work for the Ministry of Agriculture as a Canadian consultant. So the WUSC hired me to do the work with the Ministry of Agriculture. And there was a little bit of a challenge because the culture in Canada is different in terms of what they expected from the project. And I definitely know the culture in Dominica is different from what they expected. And we had to battle it out. We had to kind of figure it out. You know, fall out in the conversation and say, guys, let's catch that back tomorrow. And what I learned is that not everybody's going to be on the same wavelength with you. I'm a very quick thinker, like a very, very quick at thinking. But not everybody's at that pace. And not everybody's also wanting the same expectation and same success that you want, right? What you see as success is not what everybody sees as success, you know. Success for me now, to be honest, I wake up, I do 4 hours of work, I'm somewhere, maybe not in Dominica, but somewhere or in Dominica, in the bush, or having a coffee sometime. That's what it is for me now. For you, you could be waking up in the morning, having your breakfast, going to your office, doing your work, leaving work at 4. For those of you who have kids, you enjoy your kids. For those of you who are married, you know, enjoy your marriage. And then you figure, boy, let's have a dinner. That's success for you. So you cannot impart your success story onto people. That's another thing that if we're going to be professionals in the room, I think you need to respect what people consider to be good. Do we agree? Yeah, and not kind of frowned upon people and say, well, boy, what do you mean? So that's all? Yeah, actually, that's what she wants. She feels satisfied that this is what goods look like for her or him. And I think a lot of times, and again, I'm talking about our space, because again, if we want to bridge a gap between our African neighbors, fixing home is important. So can we change the way in which we interact with each other? Could we show a little bit more empathy, a little bit more kindness in the way we interact with each other in our beautiful country as career professionals? Because as a professional, you are trained to think a little bit different, right? That's why you went to school, and that's why you spent money on school, and that's why you're doing courses and all these fancy things. It's because you feel there's something that you want to learn to be better at it. So could we spend a little bit more time in learning about each other, learning about what makes us tick, learning about what makes us do better, and how we can embrace each other and help prop up, right? Constantly beating down and constantly looking for the negative out of the entire project, which was successful, is really a bad thing. And I see it every day in our beautiful island. Every day. I get more comfort now in not speaking to people, sadly, right? Sadly. I say that because I'm a social bug. But, you just tell yourself, boy, you know what, maybe you just stay within your little space with your friends and you have the dialogue there. And that's not what I really want to do. But I feel more comfortable doing that because the space is pulverized, right? And I always say it's okay as professionals to be able to have very tough conversations, disagree on color, disagree on creed, disagree on theory, and come back to the table and laugh again. And say, boy, you really had a good point, you know. You really had a good point. But I like the way we kind of battle through. If we can't do that as a professional, don't call yourself a professional. A professional is supposed to be held at a different level, guys. It can't be the same people that are walking the streets with us every day. It's impossible. A different level, a different thought process, a different mindset. And I like to compare, I was speaking with my African sister friend here, and she asked me a critical question. I said, well, we're talking about where I was and everything, and she said, oh boy, Kareem, I haven't done St. Lucia, always St. Lucia. I said, boy, I love St. Lucia. In fact, it's because I started my career, I have this passion for St. Lucia, and I've seen St. Lucia grow over the last 20 years. Just a brilliant professional space where the working class is king. I also said to her, it was the first time in 50 years that a political party regained or won elections for the first time. She said, boy, wow, so it means, I said, well, it simply tells you that, listen, if you don't meet my objectives, I kick you out, right? Just to say it was a very mature society. So I spent 3 years there and then kept going back because of work. And every other time there was a different government in play. But we're just talking about why. And when you compare the people, same color skin, same vegetation, we were once the best in terms of our agricultural space, same language. In fact, St. Lucia is closer to us than Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, Antigua, etc. We call them sisters, right? But there's a different confidence breathing from that island. There's a different confidence, and I literally go there, guys, to refresh. Because I always tell Shagan, Shagan knows. Say, Shagan, boy, in St. Lucia, I'm sorry, I had to go out. Because the people embrace you with a different vibe, and they embrace their people with a different energy, and that's the energy, guys. Can I just wrap up in 5 minutes? That's the energy I want to see from all professionals. So if we can raise the bar just inch by inch within our own society, starting from the 55, 60 people that are here today, that could be the starting point for a different professional space in our country. And with that professional space being changed, then the confidence to speak out about things that you don't like, not disrespectful, just say, boy, I kind of hate the policy, it doesn't make sense. Hey, the policy doesn't make sense. Can we think about something else? Why mustn't say this and then when I walk in the streets, boy, you kind of disinhibited. No. Professional space, build relationships so we are kind of a force to reckon. And that's what happens, when you start to build relationships, everybody start to think not necessarily exactly for what you want, but there is a bit of a synergy because you recognize that, oh wow, I feel in that same vibe, so maybe we can now have a bit of a mix. So with that, guys, I did promise it wasn't going to be a heavy conversation. With that, let's build relationships. Let's boost the comfort. Let's figure out what are we comfortable about, and let's be confident in exerting the energy to each other. I'm here for the rest of the day, so I really look forward to speaking with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kareem. I just realized that I did Kareem a disservice, and I did not go through his bio, right? So I don't want you... No. I'm gonna do the bio. I'm gonna do the bio after all. Kareem is an accomplished person, and you're probably wondering why is he qualified enough to tell me what to do this year, right? All right, cool. Let's go. Kareem is a seasoned economist with over 10 years of experience in leading business policy and strategic development initiatives across private and public sector organizations in the orange, blue, and green sectors. He holds a Bachelor's of Accounts, a Bachelor's of Economics, and a Master's of Global Economics, along with a minor in Communications, Sales, and Marketing. He is a certified chartered board director and holds a certificate from Caribbean Governance Training Institute. Kareem's career includes roles such as head of the competitive business unit at the OECS Commission, head of commercial operations at Digicel, and head of commercial operations at Marketing and Flow. He has also served as a financial analyst and at the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, financial analyst and board direction at the Independent Regulatory Commission. Kareem has done extensive work in the energy and telecommunications regulatory sectors across Jamaica, Trinidad, and other member states of OECS, including Dominica, St. Lucia, and Grenada. Kareem has played key roles in the development of MSME policies across the region, with a notable emphasis on cultural and creative industries. His expertise and leadership in strategic policy, development, and commercial leadership continue to drive impact, economic, and strategic advancement within the Caribbean. Everybody, please thank Mr. Kareem. All right. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on, guys, to our next item on our agenda, and that is our Innovation Spotlight. And the topic for our Innovation Spotlight is bridging the connection between Africa and the Caribbean. And today we have a special guest joining us virtually on Zoom, Dr. Hilary Thomas Lake, the founder and CEO of Hilltop Ethics.